Welcome to Springfield Career Insights. Tonight, we turn to a subject that touches every home, every family, and every community. Parenting in a world that is changing faster than any generation before us. Our children are growing up in a digital age, surrounded by influences we never experienced, exposed to pressures we never imagined, and shaped by technologies we are still learning to understand. Many parents feel overwhelmed, many feel outpaced, many feel unsure of how to guide a child whose world is so different from their own. So we ask, how do we raise children with values, discipline, and emotional strength in a society where culture, technology, and behavior are shifting every day? And how do parents protect their children without losing connection, trust, or authority? To help us navigate this delicate and deeply important conversation, we are joined by His Excellency Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, President of Springfield Research University, Architect of Education 6.0, and a continental voice on family systems, youth development, and social behavior. President, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. And at Springfield, we teach that parenting is not about controlling a child. It is about guiding a life. In a changing society, the strongest parents are not the loudest. They are the most present, the most consistent, and the most intentional. When parents combine love with structure, guidance with understanding, they raise children who can stand strong in any world, even one that is changing.
Thank you, Professor. President, society is changing faster than families can adjust. Why has parenting become more complex for this generation?
Thank you, Doctor. So parenting has become more complex today because the world our children are growing up in is not the world their parents prepared for. The pace of change is outrun the pace of understanding. And families are trying to guide young people through a landscape they themselves never walked. The first challenge is the collapse of distance. So in the past, a parent worried about the neighborhood. Today, the entire world enters the home through a screen. Ideas, strangers, opportunities, dangers, all arriving without knocking. Parents are trying to protect their children from a world that is both everywhere and invisible. Then there is the speed of technology. So a new platform emerges every month, a new trend every week, a new risk every day. So parents feel outpaced, out-informed, and sometimes outsmarted by the very tools their children use effortlessly. So it creates a gap, not of love, but of literacy. Another layer is the pressure on young people themselves. So they are navigating identity, school, mental health, digital work, online comparison, and economic uncertainty all at once. So parents see the stress but don't always understand its source because their own youth was not lived under the spotlight of constant connectivity. And finally, parents or parenting is harder, Doctor, because authority now is competition. In the past, a parent's voice was the primary guide. Today, that voice competes with influencers, algorithms, peers, and global cultures shaping a child's worldview in real time. Parents are no longer the only teachers. They are one voice in a crowded room. So this generation of parents is not failing, doctor. They are simply navigating a world that changed faster than anyone could prepare for. The task now is not to control the digital world, but to understand it, not to fear it, but to walk through it with their children, not to cling to the old models, but to evolve with what? With the times. So parenting has become more complex, but with communication, curiosity, and compassion, it can also become what? More powerful, doctor.
Thank you, Professor. Many parents feel unprepared for the emotional and social challenges their children face today. Where should they begin?
Thank you, doctor. So parents feel heavier today because the emotional world of a child has expanded far beyond their home. A parent is no longer guiding a child through a village. They are guiding them through an entire digital civilization. So where should they begin? They begin with listening, not lecturing. A child who feels ahead becomes a child who opens up. Most young people are not looking for perfect answers. They are looking for a safe space to speak without fear of being dismissed or misunderstood. They begin with curiosity instead of what? Of criticism. Ask them what they are seeing online. Ask what pressures they feel. Ask what confuses them, excites them, scares them. Then when a parent becomes a student of their child's world, trust grows. They begin with emotional literacy, doctor. Parents must learn the language of anxiety, comparison, digital pressure, and digital struggle, identity struggles, because these are the storms young people face daily. You cannot guide a child through a world whose emotions you cannot name. And they begin with presence, doctor, not surveillance, not suspicion. Presence. Presence. So a steady, calm, reliable presence that says, whatever you face out there, you don't face it alone. Parenting today is not about controlling the world. It is about equipping the child to walk through it with strength, clarity, and confidence, doctor.
Thank you, Professor. You often speak about modern parenting skills. What does that mean in practical terms?
Thank you, doctor. So when I speak of modern parenting skills, I'm not referring to gadgets or apps. I'm talking about a new kind of emotional intelligence that matches the world our children now live in. Practical, everyday skills that help a parent guide without controlling, protect without suffocating, and understand without surrendering authority. So, modern parenting begins with digital awareness. You don't need to be a tech expert, but you must understand the platforms your child uses, the pressures they face online, and the risks that come with that constant connectivity. A parent who knows the terrain becomes a safer guide. Then it also requires emotional fluency. So children today are navigating anxiety, comparison, identity questions, and online validation in ways previous generations never experienced. So a modern parent must be able to recognize these emotions, doctor, name them, and create space for their child to express them without fear. Then comes collaborative communication. So not the old model of I speak, you listen, but a discipline where the child feels respected. This doesn't weaken authority, it strengthens trust. So a child who trusts you will come to you before they break. Another practical skill is adaptive discipline, doctor. Punishment without understanding no longer works. So modern discipline is about teaching consequences, building responsibility, and guiding behavior, not simply enforcing silence. And finally, modern parenting demands self-education. The world is evolving. Parenting must evolve with it. Reading, asking, learning, observing, doctor. These are not signs of weakness, but signs of commitment. And modern parenting is not about being perfect. It is about being present, informed, and willing to grow alongside your child.
Thank you, Professor. President, how can parents balance traditional values with the realities of a rapidly changing world?
Thank you, Doctor. So balancing traditional values with a world that is changing at lightning speed is one of the greatest tests of modern parenting. But it is not impossible, Doctor. It simply requires parents to understand that values are not museums. They are living principles that must travel with the child into their new environments. And traditional values like respect, discipline, integrity, responsibility, and compassion are not outdated, Doctor. What has changed is how they must be taught. Parents begin by translating values into modern language. The respect today includes how a child behaves online. Discipline includes how they manage their time on devices. Integrity includes how they present themselves on social media. The value remains the same. The expression evolves. They also need to separate culture from control. Some traditions are about identity and grounding. Others are about fear and restriction. Modern parenting requires the wisdom to keep what strengthens the child and to release what suffocates them. Another key step is dialogue instead of dictatorship. So young people live in a world where information is abundant and voices are many, Doctor. Parents who insist on, because I said so, they lose influence. Parents who explain, engage, and guide gain trust. And trust is the new authority. And finally, parents must model the balance they want to teach. If you want your child to honor tradition, let them see you living it with dignity. If you want them to adapt to the modern world, let them see you learning, adjusting, and growing too. Traditional values are not threatened by modernity, Doctor. They are strengthened when parents show their children how those values can survive and shine in any era.
Thank you, President. Let's take a break and listen to our gospel song, The Sound of Returning.
Shadows, carrying the weight of what I've been, but mercy started whispering, calling me back home again. and kept on calling with a soft, familiar song. You rewrote all my failures, oh, turned my ashes into flame, and now I'm running freely, oh, to the one who knows my name. Every burden starts to loosen, every chain begins to break. There's a rhythm in redemption, and my heart begins to wake. This is the sound of returning, the heartbeat of coming home. Grace is singing over me, child, you're never on your own. Iron angels will guide you home. Oh, your arms are wide and waiting. Your light is gently burning. My spirit knows the sound of returning. I hear the echo of your promise. I feel the warmth of your embrace. You never moved, you never left me. You were standing in this place. I rose from waters deep, carrying the crown you placed beneath the waves. A miracle waiting in the dark, now shining in your grace. Now every step is resurrection, every breath a brand new song. I'm restored by your compassion, I'm returning where I belong. This is the sound of returning, the heartbeat of coming home. Grace is singing over me. Hey, child, you're never on your own. Iron angels will guide you home. Your arms are wide and waiting. Your light is gently burning. My spirit knows the sound of returning. Hey, Yahuya Baba, Ekaya Lami Letu, Yahuya Baba, Ekaya Lami Letu, Yahuya Baba, Yahuya Baba.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. Some parents feel guilty for not having enough time or resources. How can they parent effectively under pressure?
Thank you, Doctor. So parents today are carrying a double burden. The weight of providing in a tough economy and the responsibility of raising children in a world that never slows down. Guilt becomes a constant companion, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. But effective parenting has never been about perfection, Doctor. It has always been about presence, intention, and love, even when time and resources are limited. Parents can begin by making small moments meaningful. A 5-minute conversation at bedtime, a shared meal, even if it's simple. A check-in after school. Children remember connection, not the length of the interaction. Two different things. They can also practice honest communication, saying, I am tired, but I'm here. Teaches a child empathy and realism. It shows them that love is not measured by luxury, it is measured by consistency. Another powerful tool, Doctor, is routine. When life is chaotic, routines give children stability. A predictable rhythm. Homework time, family time, quiet time becomes a form of what? Of emotional security. And parents must release the myth that good parenting requires wealthy. No. Children need guidance more than gifts. They need boundaries more than gadgets. They need reassurance more than words. And finally, doctor, parents must show themselves grace. A child does not need a perfect parent. They need a present one. A parent who tries, who listens, who learns, who shows up in the ways they can. Under pressure, the most effective parenting is not grand, it is grounded.
Thank you, Professor. How can parents build trust with children who feel misunderstood or unheard?
Thank you, doctor. So, trust is not built in grand moments. It is built in the quiet, consistent ways a parent shows a child. I see you, I hear you, I value your voice. When a child feels misunderstood or unheard, the bridge between them and their parent has not collapsed. It has simply weakened. You see, it can be rebuilt. Parents begin with listening without interruption, not listening to correct, not listening to respond, listening to understand. So, a child who is allowed to finish a sentence without judgment begins to believe their voice matters. They also need validation before guidance. Validation does not mean agreement. It means acknowledging the child's feelings as real. So, saying, I understand why you feel that way, opens the door. Saying, you shouldn't feel like that, closes it. Another powerful step is sharing your own humanity. So, when a parent admits, I also struggled at your age, or I don't have all the answers, but I'm here, the child sees a partner, not a judge. Vulnerability from a parent creates safety for the child. Trust also grows through predictability, doctor. When a parent reacts calmly today and explodes tomorrow, the child retreats. Then consistency. In tone, in rules, in presence, becomes emotional security. And finally, trust is strengthened through small acts of respect. Knocking before entering their room, asking for their opinion, keeping promises. Respect is not a gift for adults, doctor. It is a language children understand deeply. When parents combine empathy, consistency, and humility, even the most distant child begins to return. Trust is not rebuilt by force. It is rebuilt by presence, doctor.
Thank you, Professor. How can parents protect their children from harmful influences without becoming controlling or overprotective?
Thank you, doctor. So, protecting children from harmful influences is one of the hardest balancing acts in modern parenting. Too much control and the child becomes secretive. You see? Too little guidance and the world raises them. The goal is not to build a cage. It is to build a campus. Parents begin with education, not fear. Explain why certain content, people, or platforms are dangerous. A child who understands the why becomes a partner in their own protection, not a prisoner of rules. They also need open communication, doctor. If a child knows they can tell you anything without being punished or shamed, they will come to you before trouble grows. Trust is the strongest form of protection. And another key step is co-creating boundaries. So instead of imposing rules, sit with your child and agree on screen time, online behavior, privacy settings, and digital etiquette. When children help create the rules, they are more likely to respect the rules. Parents must also practice quiet monitoring, not aggressive policing. Know the platforms they use, understand the trends they follow, stay informed, not to spy, but to guide. Awareness is protection, surveillance is provocation. And finally, doctor, the most powerful shield is relationship. So a child deeply connected to their parent is harder for the world to influence. Connection creates confidence. Confidence creates resilience. Resilience protects them even when you are not there, doctor. Protection is not about controlling every step. It is about preparing the child to walk wisely.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to our gospel song, When I Couldn't Stand, He Carried Me.
When I couldn't stand, He carried me. Try to walk the journey with a heart that felt undone. I try to lift the burdens that were heavier than one. But when my knees were trembling and my strength began to fade, your arms became my refuge. You carried me through every wave. When I couldn't stand, He carried. When I couldn't breathe, He held me close. When the night was long and breaking me, He whispered, "Child, you're not alone." Every step I thought I lost was a step You walked for me. When I couldn't stand, my Jesus carried me. I've walked through silent valleys where the shadows felt too deep. I've cried in hidden places where my soul could barely speak. But even in the darkness, Your mercy covered me, and the ground I thought I'd lose became the place You set me free. When I couldn't stand, He carried me. When I couldn't breathe, He held me close. When the night was long and breaking me, He whispered, "Child, you're not alone." My Jesus carried me. You carried me through sorrow. You carried me through fear. You carried every moment, and I thought I'd disappear. Now standing in Your But child, you're not alone. Oh, every step I thought I lost was a step you walked for me. When I couldn't stand, my Jesus carried me.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. How can parents create a home environment where children feel safe to express their struggles?
And thank you, Doctor. So a home becomes emotionally safe, not by accident, but by design. Children open up when the environment tells them in 1,000 subtle ways. Your feelings are welcome here. Parents who want that kind of home must build it intentionally. They begin by removing the fear of punishment for honesty. A child who expects shouting, sarcasm, or dismissal will hide their struggles. A child who expects calm conversation will speak. Safety is not the absence of rules, Doctor. It is the absence of humiliation. They also need to create predictable emotional behavior. When a parent is gentle today and explosive tomorrow, the child learns to stay silent. Consistency in tone, reactions, and boundaries gives the child confidence that opening up won't backfire. Another essential step is normalizing emotional expression. So talk openly about stress, disappointment, confusion, and growth. When parents model vulnerability, children learn that emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals. Parents should also practice active presence, Doctor. Not just being in the same room, but being attentive, putting the phone down, making eye contact, asking follow-up questions. Presence tells the child you matter. And finally, create rituals of connection, a weekly talk, a shared meal, a bedtime conversation. So these small, consistent moments become emotional doorways through which a child can safely bring their struggles. So a safe home is not built through affection, Doctor. It is built through patience, empathy, and predictable love.
Thank you, Professor. How can parents discipline their children without damaging their confidence or identity?
Thank you, Doctor. So discipline is necessary. But the way it is delivered determines whether it builds a child or breaks them. So in today's world, discipline must shape behavior without wounding identity, and correct mistakes without crushing confidence. Parents who master this balance raise children who are responsible and emotionally secure. So the first principle, Doctor, is separating the child from the behavior. So say what you did was wrong, not you're wrong. Correct the action, not the identity. Children internalize language deeply. What you repeat becomes their inner voice. The second principle is calm discipline, not emotional discipline. When a parent disciplines from anger, the child learns fear. When a parent disciplines from clarity, the child learns responsibility. A calm tone teaches more than a raised voice ever will. Another key step is explaining the reason behind the rule. Children obey longer and more willingly when they understand the why. So, discipline without explanation feels like punishment. Discipline with explanation feels like guidance. Parents must also use consequences, not humiliation. So, a consequence teaches accountability. Humiliation teaches shame. Shame damages identity. Accountability strengthens character. And finally, Doctor, discipline must be paired with reconnection. After the correction, reassure the child, I am guiding you because I believe in you. This restores emotional safety and prevents discipline from becoming emotional distance. Healthy discipline is not about control, it is about growth. So it shapes behavior while protecting the child's sense of worth.
Thank you, Professor. President, how should parents respond when their children make mistakes or take wrong turns?
Thank you, Doctor. So when a child makes a mistake, the moment is not just a test of the child, it is a test of the parent. So how a parent responds determines whether the child learns, hides, or breaks. The first step is staying calm. A child already knows when they have gone wrong. If the parent explodes, the child focuses on the parent's anger instead of their own responsibility. So calmness keeps the lesson clear. Next is seeking understanding before judgment. So ask, what happened? What were you feeling? What were you trying to do? Behind every mistake is a story, Doctor. When parents understand the story, they can guide the child more effectively. Then comes teaching, not shaming. So mistakes are opportunities for growth, not weapons for humiliation. So a child who is shamed learns to hide. A child who is guided learns to improve. Parents must also help the child repair the damage. If they lied, help them tell the truth. If they broke something, help them fix it. If they hurt someone, help them apologize. Repairing builds responsibility and maturity. And finally, Doctor, parents must reaffirm love and identity and say, you made a mistake, but you are not a mistake. This protects the child's confidence and keeps the relationship strong. Children do not need perfect parents. They need parents who turn wrong turns into wisdom, Doctor.
Thank you, Professor. President, what advice would you give to parents raising children in single-parent households or financially strained homes?
Thank you, Doctor. So, parents raising children in single-parent homes or under financial strain often carry a weight that society does not fully see. They are juggling survival and nurturing at the same time, you see. 2 full-time jobs performed with half the resources and twice the pressure. But even in these circumstances, powerful parenting is possible, Doctor. The first truth is this: love and stability matter more than money. Children do not measure their childhood by wealth, they measure it by warmth, safety, and consistency. So a parent who shows up, listens, and reassures gives a child a foundation stronger than any material gift. The second principle is structure, Doctor. In homes where time and resources are stretched, Routine becomes a form of emotional security. Predictable meal times, study times, rest times help the child feel anchored even when life outside feels uncertain. Another essential tool is honest communication. So children in financially strained homes often sense the pressure even when it's unspoken. Explaining challenges in age-appropriate ways teaches resilience, not fear. I said age-appropriate ways. So it shows them that struggle is not shameful, it is part of life, and it can be faced with dignity. So single parents also need a support system, doctor, not heroism. No one is meant to raise a child alone. Family, neighbors, community groups, teachers, mentors, these are extensions of the home. Asking for help is not weakness. It is actually a strategy. And finally, doctor, parents must practice self-compassion. You cannot pour into a child from an empty cup. Rest when you can. Celebrate small victories. Forgive yourself for the days that feel overwhelming. Your effort is seen even when your circumstances are hard. So, children raised in these homes often grow into some of the strongest, most empathetic, most resilient adults. Not because life was easy, doctor, but because love was steady.
Wow, this is amazing. Let's take a commercial break and stay tuned.
At Springfield Research University, we don't teach to pass exams, we encode futures. Grounded in Education 6.0 and powered by STEMA, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine and automation, we deliver modular, sovereign learning across undergraduate, master's and doctoral programs. Explore our prospectus, where every curriculum is designed to stematize every discipline, dignify local authorship, and credential transformative knowledge. Be stematized, be sovereign. Here, knowledge is authored, not borrowed. Curriculum is credentialed, not copied. Every graduate becomes an architect of transformation. With 2 annual intakes, March and September, the path to innovation is always open. From the logic of automation to the soul of indigenous intelligence, SRU is where tomorrow is designed. Springfield isn't just a university, it's an epicenter of epistemic dignity. Join the movement. Study where learning governs itself. Springfield Research University, the globe is here. Where are you?
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. President, what is the difference between raising obedient children and raising emotionally healthy children?
Thank you, Doctor. So raising obedient children and raising emotionally healthy children are not the same mission. The difference determines the kind of adults they eventually become. So obedience is about compliance. It produces a child who follows instructions, avoids punishment, and keeps the peace. There is nothing wrong with obedience. It creates order, discipline, and respect. But obedience alone can create a child who behaves well on the outside while struggling silently inside. You see? Emotional healthy is now about inner strength. So it produces a child who can express feelings, set boundaries, handle pressure, and make decisions rooted in self-worth. So an emotionally healthy child does not just follow rules. They understand them. The key difference is profound, doctor. Obedience teaches silence. Emotional health teaches exploration. An obedient child learns to hide discomfort. An emotionally healthy child learns to articulate it. So obedience focuses on behavior, emotional health focuses on understanding. One asks, "What did you do?" The other asks, "What were you feeling?" So obedience creates compliance. Emotional health creates resilience. Compliance collapses under pressure. Resilience survives it. So obedience can be fear-based. Emotional health is trust-based, doctor. A child who fears you will behave when you are present. A child who trusts you will behave even when you are not. So the ideal parent does not choose between the two. They blend them. They raise children who respect boundaries and understand themselves. Children who listen to guidance and have the confidence to speak their truth. Children who follow rules and know they are worthy. So obedience shapes behavior. Emotional health shapes identity. A wise parent will both.
Thank you, Professor. President, what message would you give to parents who feel like they are failing?
Thank you, Doctor. So, parents who feel like they are failing are often the ones carrying the deepest love and their heaviest expectations. But here is the truth many need to hear. You are doing far better than you think. Failure in parenting is really about lack of love. It is about exhaustion, fear, and the impossible standards society places on mothers and fathers. Children do not need perfect parents. They need present parents, parents who try, parents who apologize, parents who learn, parents who show up even when they feel empty. So the first message I would give is this, doctor. Your effort counts, even when the results are not immediate. Children grow in seasons. Some seasons are smooth, some are chaotic. None of them define you as a parent. The second message is mistakes do not disqualify you. Every parent loses patience. Every parent misjudges. Every parent wishes they had handled something differently. What matters is not perfection, it is repair. A sincere apology can heal more than a flawless performance. A third message, doctor, is you are not alone. Parenting is one of the most demanding human responsibilities, yet society often expects parents to carry it silently. Seeking help is not weakness, it is wisdom, doctor. And finally, your child does not need a superhero. They need you, your voice, your presence, your love, your imperfections, your humanity. These are the things that shape a child's heart. Parents who feel like they are failing are often the ones who are quietly succeeding because they care enough to worry, to reflect, and to keep trying.
Thank you, Professor. How can parents heal their own childhood wounds so they don't pass them on to their children?
Thank you, doctor. So, parents often carry wounds from their own childhood. Wounds of silence, harshness, neglect, comparison, or emotional absence. So if these wounds are not acknowledged, they quietly travel from one generation to the next. Healing them is not just personal work, it is an act of protection for your children. The first step is awareness, doctor. You cannot heal what you refuse to name. So ask yourself, what hurt me? What shaped me? What still triggers me? Many parental reactions, anger, fear, impatience are echoes of the old pain, not reflections of the child's behavior. So the second step is breaking the cycle consciously. When you feel yourself repeating a pattern you hated as a child, you must pause. Say to yourself, this is not mine. This is inherited. I choose differently. That moment of awareness is the beginning of what? Of generational healing. Another powerful step is learning new emotional tools, doctor. If you grew up in a home where emotions were punished or ignored, you must teach yourself what you were never taught. How to communicate, how to regulate, how to listen, how to apologize. Healing is often the process of giving yourself what you needed as a child. Parents must also practice self-compassion. You are not responsible for the wounds you inherited, but you are responsible for the ones you pass on. You see? Healing does not require perfection, it requires honesty and effort. For many, healing also involves seeking support. That's therapy, mentorship, community, or trusted conversations. So there is strength in saying, I need help to become the parent I want to be. Your child benefits from every step you take towards emotional clarity. And finally, doctor, healing requires forgiveness, not to excuse the past, but to free the future. Forgiving your parents, your circumstances, or even your younger self releases the emotional weight that keeps you stuck. When a parent heals, the entire lineage heals. Your child will inherit not your wounds, doctor, but your wisdom.
Thank you, Professor. Finally, what is your message to every parent trying to raise children with love, fear, hope, and limited guidance in a changing society?
Thank you, doctor. So, to every parent, raising children with love in one hand and fear in another, to every mother, every father, every guardian trying to guide a young life in a world that keeps shifting beneath your feet, here is my message. You are doing holy work, even when it feels invisible. Parenting today is not simple. You are raising children in an era of economic strain, digital noise, cultural confusion, and limited guidance. There is no manual for this moment in history, yet every day you rise, you try, you give what you have, even when what you have feels small. Remember this, love is still the most powerful force in the home, not money, not perfection, not performance. Love, steady, imperfect, persistent love, is what shapes a child's spirit. You make mistakes, you will doubt yourself, you have days when you feel overwhelmed, unheard, or unseen. But your child is watching more than your errors. They are watching your effort. Your resilience becomes their blueprint. Do not fear the changing society. Prepare your child for it. Teach them empathy, teach them courage, teach them to think, to question, to feel, to stand. These are the tools that outlast any era. And do not forget yourself. A parent who never rests eventually breaks. A parent who never heals eventually bleeds into the next generation. Your well-being is not selfish, it is strategic. A stronger you creates a safer home. Finally, know this. You are not raising a child for the world you grew up in. You are raising a child for the world that is coming. And the fact that you care that you reflect, that you seek wisdom, means you are already ahead. Thank you, Dr. for that.
Thank you, President, for reframing parenting as partnership between generations. Your message tonight reminds us that raising children in a changing world requires wisdom, adaptability, and emotional presence. To our audience, if you are ready to strengthen your parenting skills and build healthier family dynamics, Springfield Research University invites you to join a community where parenting is supported with knowledge and compassion. Visit www.springfieldresearchuniversity.net to begin. This brings us to the end of tonight's edition of Springfield Career Insights. May your home become a place of growth, guidance, and stability. I'm Clarence, your host. Good night.
Abulo sihlomela impilo lenhle lena. Hey hey siyakhuphuka tikiti lethu Tanza lungakhiwa. Hey hey siyakhuphuka sonke siyavumelana ngemjululo muhle sonke similela. Hey hey siyakhuphuka